Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, November 17th, 2021, and we're going to get started here with our pre-market analysis on the S&P 500 futures market. Real quick, going back to yesterday, just to review here, we essentially came into the market in the morning, and if you recall back to our pre-market yesterday, we did talk about the fact that we were kind of seeing maybe a few more bullish arguments off the lows going into the open yesterday than we did see bearish. However, it was a really mixed bag. We were stuck in, again, this tight chop over here. And so because of that, we were essentially going to go into the open with no bias and just kind of go with whatever the market went with. Because regardless of whether we had maybe a little bit more of some bullish signals off the lows, remember, we couldn't make the strongest bearish argument off that previous daily high from yesterday, or from 2 days ago now. We kind of ignore the fact that there might have been one or two more arguments on the bullish side, and we decided to just see what they could do. Could they start pushing and break through the high from the day before that, or were the bears going to jump in and come down and start breaking lower? Sure enough, out of the open, the bulls showed their face real quickly there, and essentially we started looking for very aggressive longs throughout the morning session there, and that's just how that worked out. So we did get a breakout to the upside. I think had we have called that, we had maybe one or two more bullish arguments than bearish arguments. It would have made us look a little better going into the open yesterday, but hey, is what it is. It was fairly even with more of a bullish argument off the lows. Last week, we were saying that we were in a similar situation, somewhat sideways, and we had a little bit more arguments for the bull side, so we gave ourselves a little bit more of a bullish bias, and then the market sold off on us on 2 of those mornings. So I think some of you remember that. So I decided, you know what, let's just see what the market does here, and we'll just go with it. And so sure enough, we got the bullish break to the upside, almost came into the all-time high yesterday. So that brings us into this morning. Again, looks very similar to yesterday. Got this break to almost get up to the new all-time highs, and then we got this correction in the overnight session, and now we're sideways here. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what the ultra-high time frames are saying, if anything different from yesterday. So we'll take a look at the quarterly here, still looking nice and strong. No signs of exhaustion. Our monthly we've been through still looks very, very strong, but potential bearish signal could start to form here. And then when we go to our weekly, we have that very clear bearish divergence off the high from a few days ago, back up at 1175. However, it looks like we're getting some type of recovery here. And remember, we said on the weekly, sometimes you get a nice clear bearish signal. I think the best example of that was right here, where we got this nice topping formation on RVI, a nice almost double top despite pushing to higher highs. Really clear bearish divergence pattern. If we were over here on the chart, we would have had pretty good confidence. Well, waiting for that next candle to start to form, we would have seen it. It ended up only pulling back from 37.20 to 36.30 for 90 points, and then they continued chugging. So right now, remember we said we were up around 47.11. We pulled back to 46.20. There's just about 90 points, and now we're recovering. So that could be it for this weekly signal, but we don't want to ignore the fact that it's there. So we'll continue to monitor that. And then on our daily here, remember we have the nice bullish signal that we did call on the morning of November 10th. We've got this push to 09 now from the low at 25 for whatever that is, a little over 75 points now. And on the daily, I don't have any indications of a bearish exhaustion from a divergence perspective. So looking at the RVI, looking at price right now, all I see is the nice bullish signal from the low from November 10th. And that's all I see. I don't see any other bearish pattern. So I don't see the bearish pattern up top. However, we do have kind of this ambivalent looking bar that from yesterday's close. So here's today's bar. Again, we don't really have any signs of exhaustion from the daily. everything just looks pretty strong. However, that previous daily bar that we're looking at here from yesterday does look pretty ambivalent. So ideally, they're going to get above the high of that previous daily bar there. Going down to our 4-hour, the 4-hour, it's just, I laugh every morning because it's essentially the same deal. We've got nice clear bullish pattern off the previous daily low, nice clear bearish pattern off the previous daily high that we made just before the close of the day there. So it's pretty mixed here from the 4-hour perspective. You could make a clear argument on either side, and we're happening to sit right at the 50% of that range. So nice bullish argument from previous daily low, bearish from previous daily high. Now price is sitting right in between both of them. So pretty ambivalent looking picture there from the 4-hour. The 60-minute, believe it or not, actually doesn't have a strong bullish argument from the low there. And then from the high, I'd argue that it's not the strongest bearish signal, but there is that subsequent bar where we did push higher. And if you look at this from the perspective of highs, we pushed to higher highs on price. The RVI pushed to lower highs. So there is that subsequent bar argument. And then right now, right in this 50% range that we just talked about, we do have a nice bullish divergence off the overnight low. So we're going to want to heed that, and hopefully we'll get some type of push out of here, but it would be nice to also have some confluence with other time frames. So right now, the 60-minute essentially not really helping the picture for the bulls or the bears this morning, but we do have a nice bullish signal right now off the overnight low that we just made in the last hour. So we'll watch that, and then we'll jump to our intermediate time frames, see if we have any agreement from there. And I think there's one thing I forgot to mention here from the 60-minute perspective, looking at this whole push. So if we look at the low from 25 quarter back on November 10th, where we, again, the morning that we did start to call that potential daily bullish signal, and you look at the bounce out of there. So again, we've got this nice pullback, got this bounce, and this bounce was from that 50% retracement we were looking at from that previous leg up. So from that bounce of 25 up to the new high that we made, we have a new retracement scheme below us. Notice where the 38% is, sitting at 77.50. We've got a prediction point right there. We also have an eye level at 77.50, so we've got that sitting there. 50% right where we found support multiple times in the past here, so very well could find some support again if they come back down there. And then the 61 essentially lining up right with all the previous resistance in the market back here from the 11th and the 12th going into the weekend. So pretty decent alignment there with retracement levels and previous price action. And then, of course, the eye levels and the prediction points lining up nicely with some of them as well. So there's a decent retracement scheme on there right now. We're defending pretty much like the 23% retracement of the leg, which is a very, very strong level to defend there. So let's go down to the intermediate. We'll go to our 30 here. And one thing I also want to bring up from a retracement perspective is back here. Yesterday we were talking about the fact that we had kind of the minor leg, which was from the pullbacks of the lows over here up to the highs we had made over, up until that point. And we talked about the entire leg from 25 up to the high. So kind of like what we did for this morning, from 25 up to the high that we can see on the chart. And then the minor leg itself. We got this nice confluence at this 46.69 area. So we had 50% retraced and we had a 38% retrace, both lining up very, very close at 69.75. And sure enough, going into that morning, we did come down and we broke that 69.75 by 2 points or 2.5 points. And then right after that, we came back, we tested it 2 times, almost to the tick. And then in the overnight session, came back and going into yesterday, found support right in front of it and then bounced out of there. So again, just another nice confluence of retracement levels leading to support in the market from that area and a continued push. So just interesting to note. So again, here we are this morning, right around 50% of the range from yesterday. Equal arguments on both sides. So here we are on the 30-minute, nice bullish arguments from the lows, nice bearish argument from the high. Although again, this is another subsequent bar type thing that again is not my favorite, but it is there. So again, not the 30-minute, not really helping us. We do have a nice bullish divergence right off the 50% of the previous day there, right around 8 p.m. last night on the Pacific Coast here. And right now, I don't really see anything too sexy on the 30-minute. So we have a little bit of a bullish argument from right around where the market's finding support right now. They did peak just below it and come right back up. So not too concerned about that little peak below. Sometimes that does happen. So we do have a little bit of that bullish argument there. And then remember the 60-minute on the peak down is where we did get a nice bullish divergence. And we also got it from back here on the 60-minute as well. We just didn't talk about it. So looking over at my 60-minute, I do see from here kind of like the same setup we have. This push kind of to a higher price but a push to a lower RVI. So we got that on the 60-minute as well right there. So two agreements for bullishness right around the 50% retrace of this leg right here. And then the 10-minute, just looking at, well, you know how I am when we start to have all this kind of stuff in RVI. I don't like jumping through it all. But technically, again, this RVI down here, when we came down to this low, which I think is where we were comparing for the 30-minute and the 60-minute that we just talked about. If you look at this swing low on RVI, it never got obfuscated and came all the way to here. So if you connect these two levels in RVI, because we don't have RVI at some other point coming down and blocking that, I think that is technically a valid peak to compare. And from there, you can make that extrapolation that there is a bullish argument from that low right there. And then from the low over here where we did have the 60-minute bullish signal, we do have a pretty clear bullish divergence, similar but just not as far away like that. So there are the bullish arguments on the 10-minute as well over there. And so that's kind of where we stand this morning. It is pretty much a mixed bag, and it kind of has been for a while. But we do have the 60, 30, and 10 all showing bullish arguments from 50% of the previous day here. So from 88 and 90, this little 2-point pocket right here is where we're finding bullish signals and definitely some bullish follow through off this level. So this morning, ideally for the bulls, we're going to see them hold this 88 area and attempt to push higher. Now, how high are they going to get? Are they going to break through the previous daily high? Are they going to get through the all-time high and continue to push? That is the question. A 27% extension of this current leg that we're looking at would bring us to 47.20, which would be new all-time highs. And then you also, I would point out real quick here, let's just go ahead and maximize that. If we just zoom back a little bit, you do have a little tail end here of price action that goes down a little bit lower. So technically you could draw this. There's this leg which is completely valid, and we have our retracement levels sitting there right around, again, some decent price action from this perspective as well. But what if we just draw this all the way to the low of that particular leg or push in the market? So this is where the push really started after the correction. We got the push out. They did retrace most of the leg but continued. That is the major leg for this current area of the market, and that extension would bring us to 21. So we have, I think the other one was 20 and this one's 21, so pretty much the same agreement. And the difference between the low there and the low here is only by a few points. So these retracement levels are essentially in the same areas there. But that brings us right up into 20 to 21. So that would be the first expected target if they do get this bullish push that we would expect off the low here. So just to reiterate, we do have the 60-minute bullish signal from down there, and then the 30-minute bullish signal from the same general area just earlier, and the 10-minute from both areas as well. So that's what's bringing us into the open. If they do break through 50% of the previous day here, and I guess the swing low at 88.50, they could potentially just break by a little bit and end up bouncing at maybe one of these deeper levels. Again, we're just going to have to wait for a nice clean signal off one of these levels. And again, I don't think that there's a strong enough argument on either side to give me faith in one direction or the other. However, right now there is a little bit more on the intermediate time frames of a bullish argument from where we are at the moment. So I do kind of expect there to be some type of attempt to push out of this area. The question is, how far are they going to get? Can they get through 50% of the previous 4 hour? Can they get through the CP here? And can they get through the CP and the high from yesterday up around 47.09, 47.10 there? So that's what's going to bring us into this morning. To everyone out in YouTube, have a great day. We're going to jump down to our short time frames here, get some of our proprietary levels on the chart, and see if we can get some trades in coming into the open. So have a great day to our YouTube viewers.